We have this Shabbat, the most important Torah reading of the entire year. In fact, it is the only reading that the Torah commands us to read and to listen to. This is why we call this Parashat Zachor, Shabbat Zachor. Tomorrow morning, we are going to attend shul as much as we can, for both men and ladies even, to listen to only a few pesukim reminding us of our worst enemy, the one that the Torah says to never forget about. Hashtag never again refers to Amalek, refers to our enemy. And when we think about this nation, we think about that enemy, it's actually quite interesting because throughout history, Am Israel had many, many enemies. And if we focus on the episode with Amalek, the very first time that Amalek was in touch with us, which is where and when the Torah commands us to destroy him forever, that happened in such circumstances that are quite incredible of why was it such a big deal? Because if I ask you, how many people died from Milchemet Amalek? How many people got wounded from that war? And the answer is no one. Absolutely no one got hurt from Amalek. No one died from Amalek. We in fact destroyed them. This was a real victory. And yet the Torah says, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek, and ends with lo tishkach. What's the big deal? So let's talk about the timing of that reading. We read Parashat Zachor always, the Shabbat before Purim. Why is that? Well, mostly because the story of Purim is a consequence of not killing Amalek, of leaving a Haman alive somewhere in the world that will use his hatred, his anti-Semitism, in whichever way he could. So we read about Amalek before the episode of Purim. But the truth is, there is an underlying message that we cannot miss as we are going to listen to the Parashat Zachor. And that is that the true Amalek is not the one who tries to hurt us physically. Because Amalek did not hurt us physically the very first time. Yes, it may happen afterwards. Yes, anti-Semitism has so many forms. But the real danger of Amalek, the essence of Amalek, the reason why we need to fight him forever and ever, is mostly spiritual. The Midrash compares Amalek to this crazy guy where he sees a boiling hot tub in front of him and everyone is scared to even touch the water. And that guy dares to show off and to tell everyone, I'm not scared. I could jump. And he exactly does that. He jumps in the water and he gets the worst burns everywhere in his body. He even dies at some point. So he's gone. He's out. But something happened. Something changed. And that boiling hot water is not that hot anymore. And the other guys can now jump in thanks to him. The Midrash says this is exactly what Amalek did to the Jewish people. Everyone, like the Shira says, Az nivhalu alufe Edom, ele Moav yachazem hora'a, namogu kol yoshevei Chenaan. Everyone was scared of the Jewish people after Yetziat Mitzrayim. And Amalek says, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of them, but mostly I am not scared of God. And he jumps in. And he gets killed, decimated, destroyed. But he does something to us. Asher karcha baderech. He makes us cold. What does that mean, he makes us cold? Amalek, say the Chachamim, is the gematria of Safek, doubt. He makes us doubt in our faith in God and in ourselves. And at that moment, we become vulnerable. At that moment, we could be attacked by everyone and anyone. This is what Amalek does. He injects the poison of the Safek. He injects us with questions, with tough questions, against HaKadosh Baruch Hu, against the world, against Emunah, against the Torah. And that is the most dangerous enemy that we can have. When the destruction is from the inside, is where Chas v'Shalom, the Jewish people, is really, really at risk. Because physically, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised us that we will never be destroyed. We will always be around. And this is why, even though we celebrate Purim as a physical victory, we celebrate Purim as a physical simcha, we must remember the Shabbat before Purim, that the true celebration has to be spiritual. The true simcha of Purim must also be spiritual. It's not just about drinking and showing an external, superficial simcha on the outside. It has to come from within. It has to come from the fact that we thank Borei Olam and we are proud Jews. This is what really the message of Purim should be about. And when we think about the events around us, we should get inspired from the story of Purim, from the Parashat Zachor. That even though, ironically, Iran happens today to be the enemy with the very same place of the story of Purim, to be probably the enemy number one of the Jewish people because of the nuclear threat. We shouldn't be scared of that. That's not actually the scariest threat to Am Yisrael. The real enemy is the one that gets in our head and makes us doubt in Borei Olam, in our Jewish identity, and in the Torah values. The Holocaust was terrible. There are no words to describe what the Nazis did to us. But what happened after the Holocaust? What happened with the same number of casualties because of assimilation is way worse. Because those neshamot are lost forever. The Holocaust neshamot are going, all of them, to Gan Eden. And this is the reminder. This is why Parashat Zachor is so important. And I'd like to finish with the probably most important phrase of Parashat Terumah, ve'asu li mikdash ve'shachanti betocham. Ve'shachanti betocham. Remember those words. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says the purpose of the Bet HaMikdash, the purpose of everything that is about Him dwelling in the world is ve'shachanti betocham. For Him to reside among each person, not in one place, not in a structure, but in everyone's heart, in everyone's life, in everyone's mind. God is inside me. I have to live my Yahadut, my religion, my Torah and mitzvot practices truly all the way. And only then we can be Zocheh for the title, the beautiful title of this week's Parashat, Parashat Terumah, to be elevated as individuals, to be not just superior, but to be special, to be dignified by the fact that we have such a beautiful Torah, that we have such beautiful mitzvot, and we can truly be happy about them. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach.